Last week, we heard about the WWE releases that took place during SmackDown that week. Jinder Mahal, Xia Li, Veer, Sangha, Zion Quinn, all gone from WWE. You could add Von Wagner to that list as well from NXT. But unfortunately, you can add one more name to the pile, and that is Cameron Grimes. And I can't sit here and tell you that it's a surprise, but it's a pretty shitty situation. He broke the news himself. He posted a video on his social media in tears. This man was beside himself, very upset, clearly very blindsided and just in a state of shock by getting the news that he was being released. And it was very difficult to watch. And you watch that video, and all this guy wanted to do was work. He showed up to work every week. He was backstage. All he wanted to do was go out to the ring and wrestle. Just give him something to do. Let him go out and work. And he's not going to have a lot of problems finding work now. But he went on Busted Open this week to expand on what happened. And during his appearance on Busted Open Radio, he said that a pretty high-up executive in WWE told him just last Friday that he would always have a job in the company. He said, literally, the last time I was at TV, I had a pretty high executive tell me, because, I was worried. Starting this stock market gimmick, it made me see businesses in a different light. Following these companies and playing with stocks, I would see things in a different light. So I knew that I haven't worked in over a year and I'm making a decent salary. So I knew that if someone was to look at the books, I'm going to be the first person that's going to be cut. If you're looking at it strictly as money-wise, but if you're looking at it as like, okay, well, if this is a talent that can do something for us, you know what I mean? They're going to keep me. So I was told by a high executive last week on Friday that I would always have a job here. I would never have to worry about losing my job. After expressing my concerns like that to him, and then 5 days later, they called me and told me that I lost my job. So I don't know. First of all, if there's one thing to be learned here, it is that there is no such thing as lifetime employment in WWE. I mean, there's really no such thing as lifetime employment anywhere, if we're being honest. But certainly in WWE, as we learned from Sue Aitchison in The Office being released a couple of weeks ago, and she had been the longest tenured employee in that company, almost 40 years, and they let her go. If they'll let Sue Aitchison go, then Cameron Grimes is certainly not as safe as she was. So that's a hard lesson learned there for him and anybody else. But he said that he would always joke with the locker room that he would be the next person gone. And with the draft coming up, he said that he had made the joke that he would be drafted to Thursdays when TNA Impact comes on television. He said, I was just always told that they didn't really have an idea for me at the moment. I pitched a bunch of different ideas. I pitched a bunch of different character ideas because I had a feeling that the money thing just wasn't going to work up there. They had already kind of tried it with Baron Corbin before I had gotten up there with the JBL thing. I feel like that was very much because of the success that I had with the character of Cameron Grimes in NXT. I think that's why they kind of went with that storyline. Over the past few months, I had been going to writers and stuff and saying, hey, I just want to work. At the end of the day, I just want to work. And I would hear that would make me sound kind of bitter. I don't understand that process. I don't understand how I came off as being bitter. I guess every week when you're asking to work, I guess it starts to annoy people. I mean, I guess I could see that. So this man sounds like he annoyed the wrong people and they said, well, you know what? Let's just get rid of this guy. He's being a pest. We're not going to use him, so let's just cut him. Had he kept his mouth shut, he probably would still have a job right now. That's what I get out of what he's saying there. If Cameron Grimes was not proactive and didn't care so much and just tried to fade into the background, he would still have his job right now. And think of how ridiculous that is. All this guy wanted to do was say, hey, I'm here, you're paying me, I'm traveling here every week. Just give me something to do. I'm willing to, bounce ideas off of me. Tell me what you want and I'll do it. And in the end, it may well have been a case where he annoyed somebody because, God forbid, the guy wants to work. And so they got rid of him because he was being a pest. It reminds me a lot of, remember Sanity? I'm sure many of you remember Sanity when they got called up from NXT. Swerve Strickland, when he got called up as part of Hit Row the first time. And others as well, who were called up to NXT or from NXT and were never given a chance to do much before getting released. Maybe they had a match or two. You know, because I can understand being released when you're still down at the Performance Center, when you're still down in NXT. They may just decide, you know what, we don't see main roster potential in you. Right or wrong. But they cut bait before sending you up to Raw or SmackDown. But to invest all of that time into somebody, years into somebody, draft them to the main roster, put them on television once or twice, and then give up on them is a complete waste of time for everyone involved. And it's got to be a mind fuck for these guys who end up asking themselves, what did I do wrong? Was it something that I did? Well, no. It's a case of one hand not knowing what the other hand is doing, and there needing to be more cohesion between the WWE brain trust and the NXT brain trust. Either that, or they just don't recognize talent when it's right there staring them in the face. You have an entire creative team that you employ, multiple people. You can't find something for this man to do and see if it works. You know, he talked about the money gimmick, the stock market character in NXT. That worked. Okay, so you don't have to copy the same one, but come up with something for him on SmackDown, maybe that's similar. See if it works. They never did that. And this isn't just a Vince McMahon thing. This is a Paul Levesque thing, because he could have saved this man's career the way that he did LA Knight. He rescued that man. Okay, he rescued LA Knight from the unemployment line. LA Knight happens to be the man that was feuding with Cameron Grimes at the time that he played that character in NXT. LA Knight got rescued. Cameron Grimes did not. Now, it won't be a huge loss for WWE because the machine rolls on, right? They won't skip a beat. They barely even knew the guy was there. That's why they didn't use him. But for this man who spent so many years of his career trying to make it to this level, and doing it the WWE way, and showing up every week to try to actually work, right? But he spent so many years of his career trying to make it to this level. He finally does. You could tell from the sound of his voice. Oh, just look at his face in that video. How much being in WWE meant to him. You know, it's one thing to fall on your face and fail with what they give you. He didn't. They failed him. And that sucks. But their loss is going to be somebody else's gain because he's a very talented wrestler. Now, Fightful is the outlet that broke the news about Von Wagner being released. PW Insider was told last week that he was expected to be at night 1 of the draft, and there was a creative pitch for him. Within 24 hours of that report, the decision was made not to move forward with that idea, and he ended up getting released. Von Wagner is somebody who, back when he first showed up on the scene in NXT 2.0, you know, the word out there and all the reports was that Vince McMahon saw him as a future WrestleMania headliner. I think it was even said that he reminded him of a young Adam Copeland. I didn't see it myself. The long hair, maybe? I don't know, but I didn't see that. But they saw big things in him, or at least Vince McMahon did. Look, he had the size that they like. He was bigger than a lot of people down there in NXT. He wasn't a bad worker. They paired him up with Robert Stone as his manager. They ended up turning him babyface, trying to get him to make some kind of connection with the audience. It looked like it was kind of working. I wouldn't say he was super over or anything like that. He wasn't. I was less surprised by this one because he was sitting on that free agent list for a year. How many times did they use him on the main roster? Not once. It felt to me like they gave up on him a long time ago.